Hi, I'm Dr. Madhu Chopra, back again with Dr. Chopra Uncut, casual on the couch with some of the most dynamic ladies, enterprising ladies, wise ladies, and daring ladies. Today I have with me a visitor who I admire a lot, who I don't know much about, and I'm sure most of you just know her as a magician with her pen who who pens down thoughts, pulls down stories from thin air, and makes it really interesting. And you're salivating for more. Let me introduce you to Miss Bhavna Sumaya. Thank you for being here on my little chitter chatter. Casual on my couch.
So before you look inside my head, I want to tell you that for a doctor, when I saw your social media and I saw you doing these conversations, I was very intrigued and I said, wow, she's doing a great job.
Oh, good.
And I like the way you are questioning them and you're trying to get insights into different people and different professions. And I'm happy to be here, sitting upright, not on a chair.
Not on a couch. Couch. Yeah. Okay. So, Bhavna, since I have seen you from afar, I've admired you immensely, and I have admired you for a long, long, long time. I don't want to get how long there because that is a math I don't want to do the calculations about. Now, when I see you, I see your persona. You are something that you project, which I'm sure you're not. Something about you tells me that what I see in front of me is not the real Bhavna Somaya. Who are you?
No. So, what is it about my projection that rings a false note in your head?
It's not a false note. There's two persons in you. I feel there's a very personal person and someone that you want the people to know, people to see. You are a very private person is what I feel, but you're not a private person. You're a public person. How do you do that? But basically, who are you?
So, I am getting where you're trying to say. And maybe somewhere you have hit the nail because I belong to this world because I'm here writing about show business for 40 years, but I don't belong here.
You said the number. Okay.
Yeah. I am cool about my age and about my career.
That's who should be.
So I think the world I come from has nothing in common with this place. As a result, I am an insider and I'm an outsider. And I think that is a balance that continues in my head all the time. So, unlike other people, I had no burning desire to be a journalist. I was a normal college going girl. And one day there was an ad in the paper which said, wanted college girls with a flair for writing. So my parents had gone abroad. So I slipped on a sari and slipped on platform heels and I went to Taj for that interview. And I was very surprised because the room was crowded. And I thought that, wow, so many people read the newspaper, so many people fancy themselves as writers. And I went for the interview. There was a kind of a big panel, which was 3-4 veteran journalists were doing the interviews. They asked me a few questions. I answered them. They asked me who my favorite film actor was. And I told them that it was Shashi Kapoor. So they said, okay, sit down and write a few questions for him. I wrote a few questions for him. And they said, okay, you are on the job. So I said, what is the job? And they said, it is a film journalist. So I shrugged my shoulders. I was not even 20. And I said, oh, just 20. I said, I don't want to be a film journalist. I was very superior. That guy almost hollered at me and he said that, why are you wasting our time? And he said, the salary will be 500 rupees. So I said, no, I don't want it. I'm very sure. And I came away home. Then they started calling
What
me.
arrogance. Wow.
I don't think
That's your true metal.
I don't think it was arrogance. I think I didn't want to be a film journalist. I didn't know what I wanted to be.
People knew your mind, huh?
So it was easy for me to reject something because I was not desperado. So when these guys started calling me on the MTNL phone that we had at home, which was in the center of the room, and my father kept a keen eye on who was calling us, whether it was a male voice, female voice, kitni der baat hoti thi. So this stranger was calling, and my mother said, "Why is this stranger calling you?" And I said that they're offering me a job, and they said that you become a film journalist, and they're giving me 500 rupees. So my mother said, "ये पक्का fraud है, क्योंकि तुम में ऐसा कोई हुनर तो मैंने नहीं देखा है, तो मना कर दो." So I told those people that my mother is saying I don't want to do the job. So they said, "Ask your mother what is the problem." So I told my mother, he's asking, what is the problem? So my mother said, if you do a job like this, you will not interview anybody after 6 o'clock. You will not go for a film party. You will never travel outside Bombay. So I said, my mother has said 1, 2, and 3, exactly like Mahatma Gandhi's mother. And they said, okay. Now my mother became even more suspicious. She's saying, 500 रुपए भी दे रहे, हर शर्त भी मान रहे, गड़बड़ है. She said, now let me talk to your dad. So she spoke to my father. So my father said, let's see, you and I both know that she has got no making of a writer. So let her just flirt with it for a while. By the time her college will be over, and then she'll give it up. So they didn't say anything, and I got into it without really planning it. There were no addresses, there was no directory. I had no idea who was where. I had no idea which studio was where. I just went along.
Dived in.
They would tell me कि दादर में ये स्टूडियो है, वहाँ जाके आप इसका इंटरव्यू कर लो. तो कॉलेज से ट्रेन में बैठकर दादर स्टेशन उतरती थी. पर्स में there was not even a कंघी कि you comb your hair and look a little decent, like how today everybody's so well groomed. And you went to the studio. The watchman nobody stopped you. They looked at you and they said, what do you do? And I would say, I'm a journalist. And they allowed you inside. You strolled in, knocked on superstar doors and said that you come for an interview. And it was the late 70s and they were so good to us.
Ramraji.
They treated you like human beings. They treated you like individuals. They were as interested in your life as perhaps you were interested in their lives. Rekha was so warm. She, when I went to meet her, she said, I was meeting her for the first time. And she said, I have to get ready. After that, when I'm completely ready, if the director doesn't call me, then I'll do your interview. So I picked up my bag and I was going out. And she said, it's very hot. Don't sit out. You sit in my room. She didn't speak to me, but she was getting ready. And I watched the makeup man put blue and pink and red on her face. Then the hairdresser came and made so many braids and made a bun. Then there were silver bells put in her bun. Then she was put in a Bengali sari. Then she wore all the ornaments in her hair, ears, nose. Then she wore her sari. Then she was sitting on the chair and somebody was putting altar for her. Somebody was putting nail polish. And when she was finally done, she said, yeah, ask me. And I was completely mesmerized and lost my question. She said, question hai na? So I said, haan. So I'm saying that this was the 70s. I was watching the diva get ready in all her Shringar Rasa. And to this decade, her behavior with me is the same. I've been meeting her over the decades for interviews as long as she was active. It's because the actors also needed somebody to share besides their family. The actors also needed friends, which they didn't have because they were working round the clock. And we as journalists were the bridges, and they spoke about what was going on in their minds and hearts to us, which they could not share with their boyfriend or which not share with their parents. And we didn't deceive them. Nothing ever
So you
came
were
up
keeper of the secrets.
in print.
Where is this ethics? Where did you get it from as a beginner? How did you know this is a journalist's ethics?
I think that it's just the values your parents give you
Wonderful.
and how they bring you up,
Wonderful.
and what is not good of my family to be disclosed to somebody or my friend. That is the same rule that applies to everybody I interview. And there was no temptation to do it. There was no desire to probe into their personal lives. There have been so many incidents when an actress, while giving an interview, breaks down. And I don't question why she's crying. And she gives no explanation. I just close my book and I sit. Because I think at that time she just needs somebody to share that moment with her. And then I say, I'll come another time, and I go away. And never ever broach the topic again, nor does she. And after that, we met hundreds of times. I have been with an actress in her hotel room where we had to do her photo shoot. It was early morning. It was a suite. Her mother was in the other room. We could hear her talking in a different language on the phone. And the makeup man was putting her face, doing up her face, and her eyes were brimming. So every time the eye makeup was coming out, I was sitting there, the photographer was somewhere else. He could not probably get a view of her. Then I had a word with my photographer, and I went very gently to her and I said, I'm not feeling well today. Maybe we can do the photo shoot another time. And she just nodded. I don't think she had the courage to even probably embrace me, which she wanted to. Because at that time she was in her wound or whatever. So I think the 70s stars were more human. What went wrong, I think, in the millennium is that the actors were taken over by the whole team. They had a brand manager, they had a manager, they have a finance manager, they have a PR, they have a something else manager, and they surround them like escorts. But actually they are isolating them. Absolutely. So now they don't have any individual contact with the journalists, and the loss is theirs, particularly with journalists of my generation who are wiser, older, and speak the truth without any agenda. I remember there was an award show and there was a superstar. She refused to take the award because she said, no, I'm not taking any more awards. I went to her vanity van and I told her that she was doing wrong. And I told her manager that you are just giving me her information without giving her the right advice. You're misleading her career. Because today she's rejecting this award and tomorrow she'll get a national award for the same film. How is she going to defend not taking this? Because I feel I have nothing to lose. I will only speak the truth. If they think that I have an agenda, it's their problem. If somebody deceives me, it is their character. I will continue to be the person I am. So when 70s, the journalism was called yellow. And when we bordered on gossip, I never worked for a magazine that wrote gossip. I said, I don't want to write gossip articles. I will not ask controversial questions. What? And my editor said, yeah, he used to say that just leave her alone. She'll do her way. She will do human interest stories. I refused to meet many heroes also because, they were too, I think,
Flirty?
I don't know, but I just couldn't handle them. So I would say, nahi, main unko nahi milne jaungi. So I chose the heroes I wanted to meet, like Shashi Kapoor, because he was so charming. He was flirtatious, but you enjoyed his flirtation. I loved Shashi Kapoor. And Javed Akhtar used to make a lot of fun, and he used to say, okay, normally a journalist interviews an actor, say, twice a year. Bhavna interviews Shashi Kapoor every month. So my editor will say, छोटा-छोटा काम के लिए he'll say, Bhavna, Shashi Kapoor से ये बात करनी है, तुम जाओगी? I said, हाँ. Then I'll look at my clothes and I'll say, no, my clothes are not good today. I'll go tomorrow. So these kind of things used to happen. I worked for just one editor, and I became an editor because he left the magazine and my publisher said, you are the woman. I didn't know anything about editing. And I remember telling my mother, when I was a journalist,
How many years did it take you to jump from journalist to editor?
I think less than 5 years. I was a very young editor.
Yeah, what a jump.
So I remember my salary was 2,000 when I was a journalist. And she was making me a editor and he was going to give me 6,000. So I came home and told my mother that they've offered me to become the editor. So she tried to understand how different it is from being a journalist. And I said, they'll pay me 6,000. So she said, but you don't know anything. So how will you become? Did you say yes or no to them? I said, no. I said, I'll tell you in a few days. Then in the morning, she got up while we were having tea. She said, I thought about it. I think you should say yes. Because they will take 3 months to discover probably that you're not knowing that much that they are expecting out of you. By the time you will have 9,000. You make an FD out of it. And you're a good writer. They will not take you out of the job as a writer. So I told them that, okay, I'll be an editor. Nobody took me out. Madhu, the thing with this show business is, when I came in, I said, I'll do it for 3 months and I'll leave. Then I said, I'll do it for 1 year and I'll leave. Then I said, I'll do it for 5 years and I'll leave. The thing with this place is, you cannot come here unless there's something sparkling inside you. And the spotlight will chase you and bring you.
I thought you get sucked into it. Like I would say I got sucked into it. Yes, outsiders, didn't know nothing about the industry. And when Priyanka walked in, I was just the OGRE sitting next to her to scare off, our image of those people in our part of the world that it bad. I mean, not too good, not too healthy.
No, but see, when you say sucked in, I look at it positively. I say, when you come here, the spotlight chases you because it sees a spark in you. And if you are good at your job,
of course,
no matter how hard you try to get out of it, it doesn't allow you. It gives you opportunities horizontally, in the same field or in different directions. For example, after becoming an editor, I got an opportunity to become a columnist with Hindu, the newspaper, then more newspapers. Then in the 90s, I published my first book. And it was not a planned book. It was not like, oh, I want to become an author. Amitabh Bachchan was not talking to the media for 15 years. He was the forbidden fruit for the media.
And low-hanging forbidden fruit.
Yeah. So what had happened is, when I became a journalist, he was a superstar. As I rose in my career, became a editor, he was still the superstar. And the question that I was asked everywhere is that, have you interviewed Amitabh Bachchan? And the answer was always no, because he was not talking to the media. And then he one day lifted the ban on the media. And I was the first person he chose to speak to. And after that, he was very accessible. So we were doing a lot of interviews with him, particularly me. So one day I realized that I had so much stuff on him. So I reworked and rehashed it and met all his directors and all his heroines and put it all together. And I went to meet him and I said that I have put this together. And I think he was surprised because he didn't expect that I was going to make it into a book. So I told him that it's all that you have spoken. You take it home, you read it, And if you disapprove, you destroy it. I'll delete the file from my computer. It's not a big deal. It's just 1 lakh words. I'll write another book on something else. But एक शुरुआत हो गई किताबों की. And then I told myself that along with my regular work, I will always write a book a year. So see, there are 2 kinds of authors. One who work only as authors. And then there's somebody like me who does regular work. In the olden days, it was as editor. Today, it is RJ at Big FM. In 2007, when I left Screed, I was jobless for a year. I left on ideological grounds. And I was very confident that I'm very good at my job and anybody will pick me up. Nobody touched. Because it was recession time.
Oh.
And things were changing.
And they didn't think you were a hot potato though.
So I was without a job for a year. And one day I got a call from 92.7 Big FM. And he said, I want you to do reviews. So I said, okay. So I recorded the review and came, though that medium was completely different for me. Within 20 minutes, I was called back to the studio. They said, you have recorded it in English. You have to do it in Hindi because it's for the Hindi belt. So I said, but I don't know to write it in Hindi. And I am not good at Hindi because I don't come from a Hindi speaking family. They said, wo kuch nahi, aapko Hindi mein hi karna padega. So I did it and it was very bad. You know, the Gujaratis have a way of speaking Hindi. And the main problem is hai and hai. Oh, problem aata hai. So I think the engineer who was recording me looked completely flabbergasted that ye kisko utha ke yahan laya gaya hai. So he said, wait ma'am, don't go. He went and called the CEO. And he said, I want you to listen to it. And in front of me, the engineer, the CEO, and I are listening to the recording. I'm sitting. Ek, I don't have a job. Two, I know I'm bad in this recording. The CEO heard it, thought for a while, and he said, okay, your diction is bad, your dialect is bad, but you have a good voice, a radio voice, and your content is good. I will gamble with you. You will work on your Hindi. So I went home and I said, is waqt for me to keep a tutor is very difficult because I don't have the money. So I decided to watch news in Hindi. All news channels, I was only watching Hindi news. And wherever I met, whoever I met, I only spoke in Hindi. Because I was confident of my English, it was parked. I wanted to hear people speak Hindi so that I knew where to correct my Hindi. And I got it. But in that process, it was very tough because I would write a review. I would come to the office and I'll say to another RJ, Arey, wo anguish ke liye mere ko Hindi word do. And then they'll give me some word in anguish. And I'll say, no, it doesn't sound like me. It doesn't sound like that. Then one girl will get up and say, ma'am, उत्तेजना. हाँ, I'll say, उत्तेजना कितना अच्छा शब्द है. ठीक है. तो उस तरह से अभी आज बहुत आसानी से हिंदी बोलते हैं. डिक्शन का ख्याल रखती हूँ. है और है में भी ध्यान रखती हूँ. There was a phase I was concentrating too much. So
Bhavna-ji, do you think all this happened in your life as a coincidence? Was it destiny? Did you grab an opportunity? How did you land into a place that you didn't want to be and still spin your life around and become a standalone monument of this industry for 40 years? No jokes.